Good morning. Good morning, all of you. I am Mulchan Taylor from Sri Digambar Institute of Technology, Dosa, and I feel privileged to well to all on behalf Sri Digambar Institute of Technology, Dosa, to the 2 days FDP optimization organized by Department of Computer Science Engineering on MATLAB and VLSI for 2 days FDP. It is the second phase of the FDP. Today our program is on VLSI DSP optimization by Dr. Amit Joshi sir from MNIT Jaipur. I invite to respected sir, please join with us.
Okay. Uh, Good morning, all of you. Am I audible?
Yes sir.
Okay. So thank you, ma'am, for introduction. So should I share my presentation?
Yes sir, you can do it sir.
Okay. Hmm. Uh, is it visible?
Yes sir, visible.
Okay. So, ma'am, should we start?
Yes sir, you can do it sir.
Okay. So good morning, all of you. Uh, so first of all, thank you for inviting me and to be part of your workshop. So uh, today we will be discussing about the VLSI DSP optimization. Okay, so I will mainly talk about the VLSI optimization techniques that you can apply for different DSP application. Okay, so the benchmark for a VLSI optimization, I have considered the DSP application. Okay, so the content that I will go through today is I will first introduce why we require a VLSI DSP optimization and what is the role of the optimization in basically DSP application. Then we will see different kind of representation that we can use it for a DSP system. Then we will see briefly about the different optimization technique, and these four optimization technique we will be discussing. So when I talk about the DSP application, then there are so many. Okay, so few of them I have listed out over here, where video compression is one of the application, speech image processing, radar imaging, seismic analysis, biomedical application, and many more. Now all these VLSI or all these DSP application, usually we would like to do it in a real time. Okay, so for a real time application, probably we can think about the VLSI platform where we can implement such application. Now, if I talk about a DSP application, then DSP application, when I talk about, then we would like to do it on a real-time application. When we talk about the real-time application, then of course we need to think about that what could be the maximum speed that we can achieve for this particular application. Of course, when you talk about the speed, then you do need to worry about the power consumption, because the reason is your frequency is directly related to power. That means if you think about a high speed system, then definitely the power consumption would be also large. So if we talk about a DSP application, then in a DSP application, when we talk about the real time, then sampling rate is very important. Where for a DSP application, sampling rate may vary from 20 kilohertz, which is for a speech application, to a 500 megahertz, which is mainly for a radar or HDTV application. Now, when I talk about HDTV, high definition TV, most of us maybe we can have a ultra high HD TV. Okay, so at that time you have maybe noticed during operation of your television that it is being written as a 1080p. Okay, what is the meaning of that? Okay, so the meaning of that, that the quality of a particular frame for that particular television which can support is 1080. So always your frame or any picture will comes out with the aspect ratio 4:3. Okay, so now ideally that picture resolution, or you can consider the image size for that particular video frames, is 1920 into 1080. Okay, so if you look at this, is a which is around 2.1 megapixel. Now if you consider a video processing, then video is considered to be a 35 to 40 frames in a second, and this we are talking about 2.1 megapixel is for a one frame. So consider that 40 frames is round about 80 megapixel. Now if you want to go for a video coding, because every time whenever you play any video, then it actually supports any compression format. Okay, so that means for a video coding you need to process this many pixel in a 1 second. Okay, now it would be very difficult to use the general common our processor, general purpose processor, to do this job. Now for that, maybe you need to think about the VLSI, where in a second you can actually process this much number of pixel. Now this is for a HD TV. Now consider the Ultra HD TV. Ultra HD TV, whatever we are talking about, that is actually 4 times larger than this particular size. So it is having a around about 8 to 9 megapixel frame size, and for a video the processing that it has to do is almost 40 multiplied by that. Okay, so that many pixel you need to process. So general purpose processor is not actually meant for that. Okay, so for that we need to think about some specialized processor where VLSI based processing could resolve this issue. So real-time processing is very important, because if we talk about for a video processing, so if you are not getting a 35 to 40 frames per second, then you will not perceive as a video. Okay, then you will see your video in terms of the breaking kind of thing, then it is not you consider as a video. So definitely for a such kind of DSP application, you need to think about some sort of high processing device where VLSI implementation would save you. Now implementation of, when I talk about a DSP algorithm in VLSI, then ultimately we need to first convert our algorithm into architecture. Okay, and then we need to think about optimization at the architecture level so that we can get our performance in real time. Now, so mapping of algorithm to architecture is very important. Okay, so if you want to be a very good VLSI engineer, then you should have a skill that how you can map your algorithm to an efficient architecture. Then you need to explore the different merit at the time of the VLSI design. That means at the architecture level, you need to think about the different sort of optimization technique, that how I can improve my performance further for this particular DSP algorithm. So ultimate goal when we think about a VLSI DSP system is to meet the computing demand, to reduce the power consumption. Of course, I need to worry about the chip area, because ultimately I want to have some sort of portable device. Okay, portable device as well as a battery operated. So battery operated device has to be a low power consumption. Then reduce the production cost. Of course, the whatever the outcome of the device, it should be cheap enough so that it could target the normal people. And of course, the performance is very important. So when I talk about VLSI, then performance is mainly driven by speed. Okay, so speed is very important. Ultimately, we want to have a high-speed system. Now, when I talk about implementation on a hardware, then there could be multiple options. Okay, I can think about implementation of my DSP algorithm, maybe on a general purpose processor. Maybe DSP processor are also available where I can directly map my DSP application. Of course, when I talk about the VLSI implementation, then there are two different approaches. One is a ASIC, which we consider as a full custom approach, and FPGA, where we can actually prototype our application. So all three are hardware implementation. So now the question is, why then DSP application we want to target for a VLSI implementation? Because your DSP processor actually mean to implement the DSP algorithm. Of course, the general purpose processor, like whatever the system that I am using for my presentation, that could be also helpful. But there are some limitations. So let's see one by one. General purpose processor. So when I say a general purpose processor, then it is not designed for any specialized purpose. Okay. So that means my whatever the laptop or whatever the system that I am using, that will do almost everything. Okay. But at that time, when you want to do so many things, at that time, maybe you have not to pay attention for a specific thing that you can do at a higher speed. So that's why the general purpose computers, which are we consider as a PCs and workstation, they are actually not meant to run an application or a particular application at a high speed. Okay, so that's why for some sort of DSP application, the PC may not be provided real-time processing. Of course, high throughput. So we will see that what I mean by throughput, but this term is related to the speed. So high throughput is also may not be possible with the help of the general purpose processor. Now DSP. So since we are talking about the DSP application, then DSP application could be easily mapped on a DSP processor, because these are the processor which is specifically designed for DSP application. But DSP algorithm typically require large number of mathematical operations, which has to be performed quickly and repeatedly on a series of data centers. Now, special hardware support such as MAC, saturation arithmetic, dedicated I/O, real-time clock, and parallelism, this may not be available in your DSP processor. Okay, so when we talk about the real-time application, the parallel processing is one of the crucial tasks. Parallel processing, that means some task I can run parallel. Okay, but when I think about any DSP processor, then DSP processor will support any kind of language which is based on C or NCC. Okay, so almost these are the sequential language. So when I talk about the sequential language, then in a sequential language, it will run as per the sequence of the statement. That means if I want to execute 100 line, then of course whatever is being written on a 1 to 90 line, that has to be executed successfully. Then and then the 100 line has to be executed. But when I talk about the parallel processing, in a parallel processing, some task has to be run parallel. So at that time, this kind of sequential language may not be helpful to achieve the real-time performance because they are not supporting the parallel processing. However, when we talk about a VLSI hardware, which is ASIC or FPGA, they support some sort of specialized language, which we define as a HDL. Okay, that is hardware description language. So this support concurrency. So concurrency is a notation where you can run some task parallelly. Now, if you think about that, if you can run some task parallelly, then definitely to complete your overall task, the time which is required is less, or it is substantially less compared to sequential. Okay, so if I consider a typical case that if I have 100 line of code, and if I execute it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then probably I require some sort of X time for execution of the 100 lines. But if that 100 line is actually executed parallelly, when first 50 line and 51 to 100 line are executed parallelly, then ultimately I can execute that particular code into x by 2 times. Okay, so the number of parallel loop is actually decided how much faster the performance of your system is. So which is very important, and you require support in terms of the language, which actually help to justify your concept on hardware. Okay, so that's why the DSP processor, which actually inherently support the sequential language, which may not be helpful to run such kind of parallel cases. So that's why they sometimes fail to do a real-time processing. Like whatever I discussed, that if you want to use the HD video processing or ultra HD video processing on DSP processor, then they may not be able to perform as quickly as whatever the VLSI system can do. Okay, so performance between the GPP, that is general purpose processor, and ASIC, the DSP is somewhere in between. Okay, DSP is faster than your general purpose processor, but it is slower than your ASIC. ASIC is one kind of VLSI implementation. Okay, another is a FPGA. Of course, your DSP is in between of your VLSI and a general purpose processor. Of course, it provides flexibility, but it is slow. ASIC is fast as well as it is almost flexible. But the problem with the ASIC is the fabrication cost. Okay, so if you want to design a one particular chip to a fabrication process, then you require almost 10 to 15 lakh in order to fabricate a one particular chip. While your DSP chip, you can find it out in terms of the 1,000 also. Okay, but if I think about a batch processing, that means if I want to produce, let's say 1,000 or more than that PCs. Okay, so large number of PCs if I want to produce, then ASIC is outperforming your DSP, because at that time the per piece cost will be reduced, because in a ASIC the mask cost is a main one. Okay, so once you prepare the mask, then you can actually generate a number of pieces in a one shot. Okay, so ASIC, which we consider as a best approach for a VLSI, which supports the customize of a chip. Customization, that means whatever the design changes that I would like to do, that I can do. Okay, so that customization at the chip level is possible. Fast design cycle, because in order to go for an ASIC design, you have so many EDA tools. Okay, so that EDA tool, you should have a knowledge of that EDA tool, and of course you should purchase the adequate license in order to operate them. So if you have this facility, then for an ASIC design, it is faster design cycle, it is shorter to time market. So that means once you think about designing something, then with this particular tool you can complete your design very quickly. NRE cost is high, non-recurring cost. So that means somewhat whatever I am considering that to fabricate it, and as well as to have a such kind of setup that requires a high cost, it is suitable for high volume. As I said, that if you think about a one particular piece, then maybe ASIC is not used, may not be good. But if you need to think about the thousands or in terms of a large number of chips, then probably ASIC is a very good, where your cost could be low and high throughput is possible with ASIC. Another approach for a VLSI is FPGA, Field Programmable Gate Array. So Field Programmable Gate Array is a customized hardware which will act as according to your functionality. Suppose that I want to implement today is a simple ALU, 8-bit ALU, then that particular hardware will work as a 8-bit ALU. Suppose that tomorrow I want to replace it with the 64-bit DSP processor, then that particular hardware will act as a 64-bit processor, considering that the coding is you have done accordingly. So suppose that I write down my code for a 8-bit ALU, then I can dump it on that particular hardware, then it will be reconfigured as a 8-bit ALU. Similarly, 64-bit DSP I can design and implement on a FPGA. FPGA is somewhat slower than ASIC. The reason is FPGA is a prefabricated chip. So FPGA is already having some sort of basic dedicated modules inside. You are just making a connection of those modules by generating a bit file or by generating the downloading file for it. Okay. So ASIC are faster. FPGA is comparatively slower because of this prefabricated structure inside this. But FPGA is of course faster than DSP. Okay. So potential of very high parallelism. So FPGA also do support the concurrency kind of notation of your language. So that means HDL language you can implement on your FPGA. Rapid prototyping is possible. Now in order to map your design to a FPGA, there are some tools, EDA tools are available which you can use it, and it is suitable for a low volume production. Okay, so this is all about the introduction which I would like to go through about the hardware implementation. Now we will talk about how we can go for optimization. Okay, so when we want to go for any kind of optimization, then you need to have some basic knowledge of graphical representation of your algorithm. Okay, so that means if you want to convert your algorithm into architecture, then intermediate step is you need to go for a graphical representation of your algorithm, and then this graph you can convert into your architecture. So in this particular second session or second section, we will see how you can represent your DSP algorithm into a graphical form, and then how further you can develop the architecture form. Okay, so if you have any doubt up to this point, then maybe I can answer those questions, because otherwise it would be that I will speak on for 2 hours and maybe you have some doubt, then it will be in your mind. So if you have any doubt, then maybe you can ask me up till this particular point, whatever is being covered. If you have any doubt, you can ask me, otherwise we can go further. Yes. Yes, am I audible? Yes, am I audible?
Yes, sir, audible.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
keep on responding, otherwise it would be one directional flow only. Okay. So I believe there is no doubt. So maybe I can go ahead now. Okay. So optimization on VLSI DSP. Now when we talk about optimization of any hardware implementation or particularly VLSI implementation, then optimization could be done at the various level. One is a device level. Okay, maybe I can think about some sort of nanostructured device through which I can go for a fabrication. Okay, so currently most of the fabrication technology support the CMOS level implementation, but of course there are alternate devices which comes up like CNFET, FinFET. Okay, so such kind of nanoscale devices are available, but still we are finding the solution of the perfect fabrication of CMOS with such kind of technology. So device level optimization is also possible, where I can think about a replacement of the CMOS, and so with that I can get the improvement in terms of the performance. Logic level. So of course at the logic level, I can do some sort of optimization. So all of us, we have gone through that digital circuit subject where we go for some sort of SOP and POS kind of structure where we used to reduce our Boolean expression. Okay, so that is nothing but the logic level optimization. Okay, so if I can reduce the complexity of my original design at the logic level, then it could also help me to get the performance. Architecture level optimization. Okay, architecture level optimization is an optimization which I can apply at the architecture level. So once I convert my algorithm into the architecture, so at that time, whatever the optimization which I can apply is a optimization at the architecture level. Now, architecture level optimization is your first control of optimization, because that is, you can do it at the abstract level. At the architecture level itself, you can think about optimization of the sum of the block. So in this particular lecture, we will focus optimization at architecture level. Okay, so whatever the technique that we are going to discuss in this particular lecture, that is optimization at the architecture level. Of course, the algorithmic level optimization is also possible. That means if I can create my design with some sort of different algorithm, like what I believe that means Rajesh Bhatija sir would be talking about the Vedic arithmetic. Okay, so that is the another way to implement your multiplier. Okay, so if I want to implement a multiplier, then multiplier can be implemented with a various algorithm. So which particular algorithm I choose for a multiplication, that is very important. So that is optimization at the algorithmic level. So as I said that we will talk about that the architecture level. Now when we talk about the optimization for a VLSI circuit, then these three steps are very important. First is optimization for a speed. That means I am interested to achieve higher speed through optimization techniques. Area. So if I want to minimize the area through the optimization, then that could be your objective. And of course, low power, okay, which is very popular, because if you want to have a portable device which is mainly a battery operated, then power is one of the critical things. Okay, so if you think about the mobile phone, then mobile phone, usually we want to have a larger battery backup. Okay, so nowadays for a portable device, the power is also crucial factor. So I will touch upon mostly all type of optimization. Okay. Now we will see the graphical representation of any DSP algorithm. Okay. So if I want to go for a DSP algorithm representation, then that representation could be possible at the block diagram level. It could be possible at a signal flow diagram level, data flow or dependence. These are the different level of representation in terms of the graph for your DSP algorithm. Okay, so let's explore it, because this is very critical, because optimization you will apply on a graph, not your algorithm. Okay, so graph is, you can consider, is a pictorial representation of your algorithm, and you will apply the optimization at the graph level. Now if I think about a simple 3-step FIR filter, what I believe that most of you are maybe BTech third or higher level students and its teacher, so you know a FIR filter. Okay, so FIR filter always having a number of coefficient it can support. So here we have a 3-step FIR filter. Okay, so in a 3-step FIR filter, if I want to represent, then I can represent it as a yn is equal to b0 B0, B1 and B2. So these are a three coefficient. This xn, xn minus 1 and xn minus 2. That is a different sample. So x is a sample and B0, B1, B2 are a coefficient. As it is a three-type FIR filter, so I am considering a three coefficient B0, B1, B2 and xn, xn minus 1 and xn minus 2 all are my sample. Now, if I want to represent this three-type FIR filter, then I can represent it like this. Maybe if you have gone through your DSP subject, then you have seen this particular structure. When I want to actually define any kind of FIR filter. So this is my xn. Here z minus 1. So this I am getting here x minus 1. So this x minus 1, if I go for a z minus 1, then here it is x minus 2. So this xn, if this is xn, this will be multiplied by b0. So here I will generate b0 into xn. Okay. Similarly, here b1 into xn minus 1. And here it is b1, b2 into xn minus 2. Then here we are doing a adding. So here you will generate the b0 xn plus b1 xn. And then it will be multiplied to, it will be added to b2 into xn minus 2. So this will be the yn. So this yn is nothing but three-type FIR filter implementation. Okay. Now, if I want to represent it in terms of this is a block diagram of three-type FIR filter. Now, if I want to represent in terms of the graph, then how I can do it? Okay. So when I define xn, zn minus 1 and xn minus 1 is coming. So this is nothing but delaying of my sampling. So currently I am xn. Now I am looking for a xn minus 1 sample at the output side. So this is nothing but delay. So delay in terms of the hardware is represented by D flip-flop. Okay. So D flip-flop is nothing but the representation of one clock delay. So if I want xn as an input and from that xn minus 1 as an output, then this z inverse, if I think about, then it is nothing but my D flip-flop. So that means if I apply xn over here, then output of the D flip-flop could be considered as a xn minus 1. I hope so far is good. All of we know that D is a delay flip-flop, so which will delay the clock. Simply when I talk about the multiplier, then if B and xn is there, then output of the multiplication is B into xn. So this we all know. So this is a multiplier. Multiplier is always operating on two input. One is the input 1, which is B. Second is the input 2, which is xn. So if I apply B and xn to my multiplier, then output is B into xn. Okay. Similarly, the adder should also have at least two input. So x1n is the first input, x2n is the two input. Then output of this adder is x1n plus x2n. Okay. So this way the graphical representation is possible. Now let's see that. Now if I want to represent it, the similar thing with a signal flow graph. Now in a graphical representation, there are three different ways to represent it. First is a signal flow graph. Now signal flow graph is actually collection of a node and directed edges. So that means you should have a node. Okay. So this is one node. This is my second node. This is my third node. This is my fourth node. This is my fifth. And this is for input node and this is for output. Okay. And of course the direction is there. So you can see that the direction is in this way. From here it is going like this. From here it is going like this. Okay. So in a signal flow graph, as the name itself suggests, how the signal is flowing. That means how the signal is flowing from input to output. That is being represented along with the node. And that is the representation that I define as a signal flow graph representation. So I can define any DSP algorithm into the signal flow graph. So when I say a nodes are a computational task. Okay. So here this one is a adder, this one is a adder. Of course, you will not define a separate node for a multiplication, but this B0 is multiplying with this particular input. So that is, this is B0 into Xn. Okay, this is B1 into Xn minus 1 because here it is Xn minus 1. Like that. Okay. So in a digital network, the edges are usually restricted to constant gain multiplier and delay element. Okay. So what is the meaning of that? That ultimately you will not define a separate multiplier. The multiplication is being defined like this only. So for this particular edge, if I define a B0, then you need to consider that B0 into Xn is generated at this particular edge. Okay. So this is the way we need to have a signal flow graph representation. Now, another is a data flow graph, which is very important. Okay. Because most of the DSP's optimization techniques is applicable on a DFG graph. So now how DFG graph can be defined? So DFG graph is basically a data flow graph. It's again collection of nodes and directed edges. But it is more, you can say, the detailed version of SFG. Now here if you observe that, what is that? Here, of course, every operation is being defined by one particular node. Just go back to your original structure. This is your original structure of 3-type FIR filter. Now if you observe that, here, this is a multiplier. So this is one multiplier. This is my second multiplier, which I am defining M1, M2, and M3. And this is adder. So adder I am defining as a A1 and A2. So you have total operation to be performed for FIR filter is 3 multiplier M1, M2, M3 and 2 adder A1 and A2. Okay. Now when I go for a data flow graph, then each and individual operation is to be defined by one particular node. And what is other thing that is being defined? This number. Every node is having some number at a round bracket. Okay. What is the meaning of that? That is nothing but a computational time. What I mean by computational time? When I say adder or addition or multiplier or multiplication, that is one sort of operation. So that in order to perform that operation, I do require some time. Okay. So this defines that it will take 4 units of time. So this is multiplier. Multiplier is taking a 4 units of time, while the adder is taking 2 units of time. Okay. And of course, this Z inverse is being defined by a D. We have already seen that. Okay. Because Z inverse is nothing but the delay of my sampling. So that could be represented by a D flip-flop. Okay. So here Z inverse is being replaced by a D flip-flop and all computational node is being defined along with their time. Okay. So that is a DFG graph. So DFG graph is a more detailed description of your algorithmic representation where you know exactly the number of operations as well as the time to execute those operations. Now that is very crucial when I want to actually thought about when I am thinking about the speed of my particular system. So at that time, this time is very crucial because I should have aware about it. Then and then I can think about that, how faster my system is. If I don't know the blocks which are inside my system and those blocks taking how much time, then it would be very difficult for me to actually talk about a speed of my system. So for a system speed, you should be aware about each and individual operation and the time which they should take to perform. Okay, so nodes are represented with the computational function. Directed edges are there, so this is same way in your signal flow graph also, and each edge is having a non-negative number of delay element. So this D is actually a presence of a D flip-flop, so that always a positive. See, here I could have a 2D, 3D, maybe I can have a that Z inverse back to back. If I have a Z inverse in back-to-back connection, then probably if I apply Xn over here, then I can expect Xn minus 2 over here. Okay, so this D is always represented your presence of a delay element, and that delay element presence is always a positive number. That means 1D, 2D, 3D. Okay, it cannot be a negative number. So that is the thing that you need to remember. Dependency graph. However, it is not actually so much useful for today's lecture, because when we want to go for a DSP optimization with the systolic array representation, okay, that is a different way of representation. Okay, so for that, when you want to go for a systolic level optimization, at that time the graph has to be represented in a dependency graph. Now the only difference in a dependency graph, the dependency graph where the input and output can go in any direction. Okay, here you just observe that for this particular node, the input is coming like this, maybe diagonally, and output is going like this. You can have an n number of input, or you can have an n number of output, and which can comes out to be from any direction. And here each node is having the same computational complexity. That means if this node is doing addition, then all the way inside this particular graph, this particular node is uniform. It is doing an addition only. Okay, so that is a specific structure that we define as a systolic array, but that probably we may not be discussed in today's lecture. But if you are interested, then you can go for a book, K.K. Parhi, VLSI DSP system. Over there, the details are given. So now this, up to this, we have talked about the mainly how we can represent your algorithm in terms of the graphical view. Now onwards, maybe in a next 1 hour, I will talk mainly about how you can apply a optimization onto a DSP algorithm. Okay, so now we will take some of the example, and with that we will see the optimization on that particular algorithm. And of course, we will talk about the different optimization techniques for them. Okay, so now we will talk about the DSP optimization technique with the example for a DSP algorithm. Okay, so again, if you have any doubt up to this point, then I would be more than happy to answer. Yes? Or you have no doubt at all? Okay, then I can move ahead. Now, when we talk about optimization in terms of the speed, then speed is one of the crucial factor when we think about the real-time application. Okay, because almost 80 to 90% of the cases when think about a DSP algorithm to a VLSI implementation, then I am actually targeting a real-time implementation, okay, for that particular DSP application. So at that time, the speed is very important, okay, because always when I talk about the real time, then you have a deadline. Like I just discussed that for a video, 35 to 40 frames per second is a deadline. Okay, so if you are not able to process 35 to 40 frames in a second, then that is not a video. So DSP computational is a different than the other general purpose computation. Okay, because when we talk about the DSP algorithm, then DSP algorithm is some sort of recursive in nature. Okay, recursive in nature, that means you need to do a certain task multiple times. Like if you have just observed your 3-step FR filter, or in a 3-step FR filter, what is the common? The make unit. That means you need to multiply and then add. So that is a fixed. If I increase my number of tap in a FR filter, that means from 3 to 100, then also the process remains same. Okay, but now I require 100 multiplication and 99 addition. While in a 3-step FR filter, I require 3 multiplication and 2 addition. But of course, the resources which I require and the process that I need to follow, that means I need to multiply my input sample with the coefficient and then I need to add it. That process steps remain same. Okay, so DSP algorithm is recursive in nature. Okay, so when it is in recursive in nature, then for them the computational time is very important. Now, when we want to optimize in terms of the speed, then we need to pay attention about the critical part. Okay, because the critical part is defining your speed. So long critical part in a DSP limit the performance of a DSP system clock frequency, which required to apply to optimization to improve the performance in terms of this. So ultimately, the critical part is a term which you need to think about optimization, because if your critical part is shorter, then your speed is larger. So critical part is to deal with the time, and we know that the time is actually inverse of frequency. So if I want to increase my frequency, then the part delay or time I need to reduce. Okay, so that is the simple logic. So if I want to operate at a higher speed, that means high speed system, then the time which it will take to execute, I need to reduce. Okay. Now, DSP algorithms are mainly described by a non-terminating program which execute the same code repeatedly. As I told you, okay, it is recursive in nature. So iteration period is the time required for execution of one iteration of the algorithm. So DSP are iterative in nature. That means it will run for a 50, 100, n number of iterations. But of course, it will take some time to complete one iteration. So DSP algorithm, if it takes the T amount of time to complete the one iteration, then the iteration period I can define as a T. So iteration period is in a simple case, the time it will take to complete one iteration. Critical part. Critical part is a combinational logic which is defined as the longest part between the node. Okay, that means from one particular node. What is node? Node is always a computational unit. We have just seen in a graphical representation. The node is nothing but your computational resources. That means adder, multiplier, whatever. Okay, so that computational resources I am defining as a node. Okay, so from one particular node, to the another node, whatever the longest time it will take, that I define as a critical path. Okay, so critical path is always defined as a longest time it will take from node A to node B. The latency is a defined as a difference between the time as a output is generated and the time at which the corresponding input was received. Okay, so what is the meaning of that? Suppose that there is a one particular large system is there. I am applying input. at one time. Okay, and output is being generated T2 time. So the difference between T2 and minus T1 is defined as the latency of this particular system. Because this system will take this much of time. Now this system is nothing but my hardware. And we know that when we talk about the hardware, then for every hardware, there will be some delay. Okay, so that means if I apply input at T1 time, let's say that I am applying input at 10 nanoseconds. Then output, where it is generated T2 is always greater than 10. So that means T2 can be 11, 12, whatever. Depends upon the time it will take. So suppose the system having a 1 nanosecond delay, or it is taking 1 nanosecond time to perform a operation on my input, then the output T2 will be generated at 11 nanoseconds. Okay, so whenever I apply the input, and then it will take some time to generate the output, so that will define as a latency, or in simple case it is a delay. Okay, delay is a term which I use usually for a combinational circuit. Okay, when it is sequential, okay, where the input of sequence is coming. Okay, as we have seen that the DSP algorithm is recursive. That means xn is coming, then xn minus 1 is coming, xn minus 2 is coming, xn minus 3 is coming. So inputs are coming continuously, and according to that the output is being generated. So where you need to deal with the input which is in sequential in nature, then the term that we are using is a latency. Okay, and latency we are defining in terms of the clock. So that means once I apply the input at T1, then maybe after 1 clock I am generating the output at T2, maybe 2 clock, 3 clock. Okay, so whenever we talk about the sequential circuit which operates on a clock, then we use the term to define a delay in terms of the latency. Then DSP systems are always characterized by sampling rate, which refer to a throughput. So throughput is a number of samples which could be generated at the output. Okay, so that means if I can generate 2 output at 10 nanoseconds, okay, then throughput is 5. If I can generate 4 output at a 10 nanosecond, then it is 2.5. So number of output that you can generate per time, that is very important. You want, like, if you consider your system is to be high speed, then the number of output that it can generate for a particular time is always high. Okay. The large delay of a particular block decides the clock cycle. Large delay of a particular block decides the clock cycle. Of course, the delay is very important. So suppose that I am defining some input, and this block is taking much larger time. Okay, so that reflects in terms of my speed. Suppose that if this one is taking a 1 nanosecond, then whatever the process that I want to perform from this end to this end, it would be completed in one particular time. But if it is taking a 4 nanosecond time, then Actually now the time it will take to perform, it is being increased 4 number of times because of the delay of this particular system. So of course you want that this particular system would perform as fast as possible. Okay, so that's why actually we are interested to go for a high speed adder, high speed multiplier. Okay, so that is very important. Okay, so probably means the Vedic multiplier, okay, is one of the topic that probably in your means workshop where probably Rajesh Bhatija sir will be discussing. Over there he will show that how the multiplication could be done in a less number of steps so that you can complete the multiplication as fast as possible. Okay, because if you can do a multiplication faster, then of course in a 3-tap FR filter you require so many multipliers. For a 100-tap FR filter, 100 multiplier is required. So that means you can complete your operation much faster of 100-tap FR filter because your one multiplier is faster. So that means consider that you are talking about 100 multiplier, then how much improvement you will got. Okay, so clock depends upon a delay-free part. Okay, so delay-free part is always in your graph representation. The sequential element that you have is a D. If you remember that Z inverse is actually mapped with the D. Okay, and this D is a D flip-flop. So that is a sequential element. So that is having operating on clock. So in between, I have a combinational logic. Okay, combinational logic से D flip-flop में क्या, D flip-flop में से दूसरी combination. Combinational logic के लिए clock नहीं चाहिए. लेकिन ये जो sequential element है, जो D flip-flop, उसके लिए clock चाहिए. Now, if I have another D flip-flop, let's say over here, and here also it is having a clock. तो आपकी क्लॉक का पीरियड किसके ऊपर डिपेंड है? ये जो दो डी फ्लिप फ्लॉप है, दिस इज माय डी फ्लिप फ्लॉप 1, दिस इज माय डी फ्लिप फ्लॉप 2. इन दोनों के बीच में जो आपका ऑपरेशन हो रहा है उसका डिले कितना है उसके ऊपर डिपेंड है. ठीक है, सपोज इट इज दिस ब्लॉक इज टेकिंग 5 नैनोसेकंड, दैट मींस यू रिक्वायर अ क्लॉक which should generate a clock period of 5 nanoseconds. And we have seen that this T, whatever we are talking about, it is directly or actually it is inversely proportional to F. So if this 5 I can reduce to let's say 4, then this F could improve. If this T is previously 5 nanoseconds, and if I can reduce it to 4 nanoseconds, the frequency is improved because आपका टाइम पीरियड कम हुआ है. टाइम पीरियड अगर कम हुआ है तो फ्रीक्वेंसी बढ़ेगी. फ्रीक्वेंसी बढ़ेगी, दैट मीन्स इट इज नाउ हाई स्पीड कंपेयर टू प्रीवियस वन. ओके, सो क्लॉक डिपेंड्स अपॉन द डिले फ्री पार्ट. तो अल्टीमेटली आप दो डिले एलिमेंट के बीच में जो टाइम है वो टाइम को कितना मिनिमाइज कर सकते हो, दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. कि जैसे कि ये 5 है, ये 5 को अगर मैं 4 कर पाया, 3 कर पाया, 2 कर पाया, so that means this time period I can reduce. So if I can reduce the time period, then I can improve the frequency. So in a delay free part, all operation has to be performed in a one clock. So जो मैंने बताया, ये D और ये D फ्लिप फ्लॉप, उसके बीच में कितने भी नंबर ऑफ कॉम्बिनेशनल लॉजिक है, लेकिन वो सारे कॉम्बिनेशनल लॉजिक एक क्लॉक पीरियड में खत्म होने चाहिए. ये टी में खत्म होने चाहिए और मुझे अपना क्लॉक पीरियड ये पर्टिकुलर कॉम्बिनेशनल लॉजिक का डिले उतना तो रखना ही पड़ेगा. ठीक है, सो अल्टीमेटली यू नीड टू एंश्योर दैट between these two delay element you should have a minimum number of combinational logic. Because if you have a minimum number of combinational logic, then the delay associated with that is reduced. If you can reduce a delay between two delay elements, then the frequency could be improved. So critical part is a delay-free part of a maximum delay. So when I say critical part, then critical part is a delay from one to another D flip-flop, but maximum time it will take. Okay, so that means एक डिले एलिमेंट से दूसरे डिले एलिमेंट में जाने के लिए बहुत सारे रास्ते हो सकते हैं. ठीक है, मे बी देयर इज अ वे दैट इट इज गोइंग फ्रॉम वन टू दिस वे, मे बी सम अनदर वे दिस D1 to D2, but out of all those, which one is taking the maximum time, that you need to take care. Okay, so usually in our exam, when we set an exam paper, then when we set some sort of questions, then we know that if a student is bright, then probably this question paper he can finish in 40 minutes. But we do worry about the student which is average or below average. Maybe they require somewhat larger time. Okay, so we usually do take care of those average students, and we will actually set our exam paper accordingly. Okay, so that the below average paper, below average students could also complete the examination. Okay, so similar way, when we talk about a particular system, for a system from one point to another point, there are different ways through which I can reach, but always I need to take about, or I need to think about a way from which it will take the maximum number of time to reach from point 1 to point 2, and accordingly I need to decide my clock frequency. Okay, कि हो सकता है कि कोई उस रास्ते से जाए. ठीक है, जैसे कि मैंने बताया ना कि if this question it has to be solved by a below average student, then maybe he will take instead of 5 minutes he will take 15 minutes. So I need to think about that scenario, and according to that I need to think about my setting of the paper. So the critical part is a delay-free part with the maximum delay. Clock cannot be shorter than a critical part. Critical part क्या है? एक पॉइंट से दूसरे पॉइंट में जाने के लिए, so precisely एक पॉइंट जो है वो हमारा D फ्लिप फ्लॉप है, दूसरा पॉइंट है वो दूसरा D फ्लिप फ्लॉप है. तो एक D फ्लिप फ्लॉप से दूसरे D फ्लिप फ्लॉप में जाने के लिए जितने भी रास्ते हैं, उसमें से जो भी रास्ता सबसे ज्यादा टाइम ले रहा है उसको मैं क्रिटिकल पार्ट बोलूं. ठीक है, और उस पार्ट के हिसाब से मुझे अपना टाइम पीरियड सेट करना पड़ेगा. So this is a maximum time it will take to reach from D1 to D2 flip flop. Okay, and my clock period, this T cannot be lesser than that. अगर एक पॉइंट से दूसरे पॉइंट में जाने के लिए 5 नैनो सेकंड लग रहे हैं, हो सकता है कि एक पॉइंट से दूसरे पॉइंट जाने के लिए 3 रास्ते हो, जिसमें एक रास्ता 2 नैनो सेकंड का है, दूसरा रास्ता 3 नैनो सेकंड का और तीसरा रास्ता 5 नैनो सेकंड का. फिर भी मुझे अपना क्लॉक पीरियड 5 नैनो सेकंड रखना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि वो रास्ता जो जाने का है, इफ somebody follows that particular path, then it will take 5 nanoseconds. Okay, so always in your VLSI system, when you are designing, you need to find out the critical part, which is the worst part in your design, and according to that worst part delay, you need to decide your clock frequency. Your clock frequency cannot be lesser, or clock period rather than clock period cannot be lesser than your critical part. The time required for a DESIM is critical part time. Throughput is always depend upon the critical part. So reducing the critical part will maximize the throughput and improve the frequency. As I said, if I can reduce this T, then I can improve my F. Now for a speed optimization, okay, there are different ways to do it. We will see most popular is pipelining, Then we will see parallel processing. If time permit, then maybe I will talk about the retiming and then unfolding. So all four techniques are there to have a speed optimization in your VLSI DSP algorithm. So let's see the one of the famous approach for a speed optimization is pipelining and parallel processing. Now, if you have gone through a microprocessor architecture, maybe 8085, 8086, or any micro, even ARM architecture, so all of them are having internally pipelining and parallel processing to improve the performance. Okay. What is that? We will see. Okay. So before discussing on that, if you have any doubt, let me know. Yes, whatever I am explaining, I hope it making some sense. Yes, any doubt? Okay, no doubt, then I will move further. So pipelining and parallel processing, which is the very basic and very important to improve your DSP system. Again, I am mentioning whatever the optimization technique that I am discussing, that is a architecture level optimization. Okay. So architecture level optimization, you can think about a pipelining and parallel processing. Now, pipelining is basically reduce the critical path. So that means critical part is defined in terms of the T. If you can reduce the T, then definitely F is going to be increased. Okay, so this is very simple concept. So increase the clock frequency. Okay, it is increasing the clock frequency and reducing the time. Parallel processing is actually not reducing the time. आपका टाइम रिड्यूस नहीं हो रहा, फिर भी आपका सिस्टम हाई स्पीड है. Why? I will just explain. In what way it is helping, so that I will explain in a while. Okay, इसमें टाइम रिड्यूस नहीं हो रहा है. ये पाइपलाइनिंग में टाइम रिड्यूस होगा, इससे फ्रीक्वेंसी आगे जाएगी. But here we are not actually reducing the time, but then also we are getting a high speed, so that I will explain. So here not increase in a clock frequency भी improve नहीं हो रही, लेकिन आपके सिस्टम लेवल पे हाई स्पीड मिल रहा है. कैसे मैं बताऊंगा. Okay, pipeline. Now consider that I am interested in to perform a one particular operation which is being defined as a AN plus Xn plus PN. The operation which I would like to perform is AN plus Xn plus Bn. Now this operation I would like to perform. So this Xn will be added to AN. So this is a adder. So this will perform this particular task. So I am just converting my DSP algorithm into a graphical level representative. This is DFG. These all are DFG. This is DFG. So Xn is being added to AN. Here you will get the AN plus Xn term, and then it will be added to Bn, and then you will get Yn. Okay. So this Yn is nothing but AN plus Xn plus Bn. Then what is pipelining? Pipelining is nothing but a concept of introducing a D flip-flop inside your path. And always when I say a path, then you need to inherently understand it is a critical path. ठीक है. What is the critical part? Critical part is the maximum time it will take to perform. Now अगर आप देखोगे, so let me just okay. Now अगर आप देखोगे कि ये एक रिसोर्स है, ये एक दूसरा रिसोर्स है, it will take, let's say, a time t. This is also same resource, it will take time t. So here this is a first node, here this is a second node. The time which is taken for this particular node is t. Here the time which is taken for this second node is also t. तो ये पर्टिकुलर ऑपरेशन को अगर मुझे कंप्लीट करना है तो ये जो सिस्टम है इट विल टेक ट्वाइस टी टाइम. कि जब मैं इनपुट xn अप्लाई करूंगा और उससे yn आएगा तो इट विल टेक 2t. 1t is for this header and second t is for this header. What is the critical part? Critical part is always a delay free part. Delay free part means जहां पे डी फ्लिप फ्लॉप नहीं है और आपके दो नोड कनेक्टेड है. तो आप देखोगे कि आपका दिस इज द फर्स्ट नोड, this is the second node, these two nodes where there is no D flip-flop and these are being connected directly. So delay free part that means absence of D element and these two nodes are connected directly. So this one is my critical part from node 1 to node 2. And what is the critical part time? Twice t. Twice t is a critical part time for this particular system. Now we have seen that कि अगर ये जो टाइम है, टाइम जो है twice t है, अगर उसको मैं रिड्यूस कर पाऊं तो मेरा फ्रीक्वेंसी इंप्रूव हो जाएगा. अगर टाइम को रिड्यूस करता हूं तो फ्रीक्वेंसी बढ़ेगी. ओके, so that is a simple case. So what I can do, this is a critical part from node 1 to node 2. Maybe I can break this critical part, and in order to break this critical part I will insert a buffer. I have put a D flip flop over here. तो अभी क्या हुआ, because of this D flip flop the clock is applicable to this. अभी आपके डी फ्लिप फ्लॉप के लेफ्ट हैंड साइड पे एक नोड है और राइट हैंड साइड पे एक नोड है. ठीक है. सो सिंस द डिले फ्लिप फ्लॉप प्रेजेंस इज ओवर हियर, नाउ व्हाट इज योर क्रिटिकल पार्ट? क्रिटिकल पार्ट इज फ्रॉम दिस इनपुट टू दिस डिले एलिमेंट एंड दैट इज इस नोड का टाइम टी है और दूसरे डिले एलिमेंट से ये आउटपुट उसका टाइम भी t है. प्रीवियसली फ्रॉम xn to yn there is no delay element, so that means xn to yn जो फंक्शनैलिटी है वो फंक्शनैलिटी कंप्लीट होने में मुझे 2t टाइम लग रहा है, लेकिन अब आई हैव पुट अ डिले एलिमेंट. ओके, सो पाइपलाइनिंग इज अ कॉन्सेप्ट इज टू इंसर्ट अ बफर, but important thing is where to put a buffer is very important. अगर मैं ये डिले एलिमेंट यहां पे रखता हूं या फिर यहां पे रखता हूं तो मुझे कुछ फायदा नहीं होगा, क्योंकि ये जो T और T दोनों नोड है वो डायरेक्टली कनेक्शन में आएंगे जिसमें कोई डिले एलिमेंट नहीं, तो ये टाइम तो 2T ही रहेगा. सो इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट I should aware about where I need to put a buffer and always put a buffer in your delay free part. Okay, तो यहाँ पे आपका कोई डिले नहीं है और उसका कॉम्पिटेशनल टाइम है. देखो xn और an यहाँ पे भी डिले नहीं है, यहाँ पे भी डिले नहीं, लेकिन xn का कॉम्पिटेशनल लोड नहीं है क्योंकि वो इनपुट है. इनपुट का कॉम्पिटेशनल लोड हम 0 ही मानते हैं. ठीक है, तो यहां से यहां पे एग्जीक्यूट होने में मुझे कोई टाइम नहीं लगेगा, ये नोड के एग्जीक्यूट होने में टी टाइम लगेगा, फिर यहां से यहां पे जाने में फिर यहां पे मुझे टी टाइम लगेगा. यहाँ पे टी टाइम, यहाँ पे टी टाइम, तो डेट मीन्स कि ये दोनों नोड है वो एक साथ ट्वाइस टी टाइम ले रहे हैं, तो इन दोनों के बीच में कोई डिले एलिमेंट नहीं है। So that's why the better is I should insert a delay element over here, not over here or not over here, so that this T and T, this part is being break. तो अभी ये D एलिमेंट जहां पे क्लॉक होगा उससे पहले का टाइम है T और इसके बाद वाला टाइम है T. तो आपका क्रिटिकल पाथ ब्रेक हो गया और आपका टोटल टाइम हो गया। पहले कितना था? पहले ये ट्वाइस टी था, अभी ये टी हो गया। So that means it is reduced. If it is reduced, then I can consider that f is increased. Okay, तो आपकी फ्रीक्वेंसी इंप्रूव हो गई। हाई स्पीड में हम यही चाहते हैं कि हमारी फ्रीक्वेंसी बढ़े, तो दिस वे द फ्रीक्वेंसी इज बीइंग improved by inserting a buffer. Okay, pipelining. अभी आप देखोगे in a pipelining I am not inserting a buffer, but what I am doing, the same hardware what is there, that I am replicating 2 times. कि ये जो 2 एडर थे दूसरे 2 एडर मैंने कर दिए और मैंने इनपुट 2 एक साथ अप्लाई किए, because I have now twice number of hardware. पहले मेरे पास 2 एडर थे, अभी मेरे पास 4 एडर है, ठीक है। तो ये 2 एडर को मैंने X2K के लिए अप्लाई किया और X2K के पास के लिए मैंने 2 एडर को अप्लाई किया। Now still if I consider then this system is taking twice t time, ये सिस्टम भी twice t टाइम रहेगी, लेकिन ये दोनों पैरेलली काम कर रही है क्योंकि ये x of 2k और x of 2k plus 1, if I consider k is equal to 0, that means ये x of 0 सैंपल पे और x of 1 सैंपल पे दोनों पे एक साथ काम कर रहा है, दोनों पे एक साथ काम करेगा, दोनों के लिए ट्वाइस टी टाइम लेगा, लेकिन आउटपुट भी 2 जनरेट करेगा, y of 0 एंड y of 1। तो पहले क्या होता था कि मेरा इस पर्टिकुलर सिंपल स्ट्रक्चर की बात करूं तो ट्वाइस टी पे मेरा एक आउटपुट आता था, ये y of 0 जो आता था वो मेरा ट्वाइस टी पे आता था, ठीक है। फिर दूसरा मैं x of 1 डालूंगा तो y of 1 4t पे आएगा क्योंकि ये मेरा ट्वाइस टी तो लेगा, ठीक है। y of 2 6t पे आएगा, so this way it will work. But now if you observe it, then यहां पे मैंने x of 0 किया, x of 1 किया, y of 0 आया, y of 1 आया, दोनों एक साथ प्रोसेस हुआ। so that means ट्वाइस t पे मुझे y of 0 मिला और y of 1 मिला। सिमिलरली 4t पे that means कि मैं x of 2 डालूंगा यहाँ पे और x of 3 डालूंगा, तो फिर से ये 2t लगेगा, पहले 2t था अभी 2t, तो 4t मेरा यहाँ पे y of 2 आएगा, y of 3 आएगा। तो आप देखो मेरा परफॉर्मेंस इंप्रूव हो रहा है। पहले मैं 4t में y0 एंड y1 जनरेट कर रहा हूं, लेकिन अभी मैं क्या कर रहा हूं 4t में y0 y1 y2 y3। क्यों? क्योंकि मैंने अपना हार्डवेयर डुप्लीकेट किया है, मेरे 2 प्रोसेस पैरेलली चल रहे हैं। जैसे कि 2 प्रोसेस पैरेलली चल रहे हैं, इसकी वजह से मैं 2 इनपुट को साइमल्टेनियसली प्रोसेस कर रहा हूं। इट इज समथिंग लाइक दैट इफ आई एम रनिंग अ स्कूल, ओके, वेयर आई वांट टू रन 1 to 12 standard. But if I have a total class 6 only, ओके अब मेरे पास 6 ही क्लास है लेकिन मुझे 1 से 12 स्टैंडर्ड को पढ़ाना है, तो आई नीड टू एक्चुअली run in a 2 shift. In a first shift, in a morning shift, 1 to 6 standard will run, and from afternoon shift 7 to 12 standard will. तो मेरी स्कूल कितने टाइम तक चलेगी? लेट्स से कि सुबह की शिफ्ट 7 बजे स्टार्ट होती है और शाम की शिफ्ट 5 बजे खत्म होती है, ठीक है? तो 7 से 5 तक चलेगी, 7 से 12 पहली शिफ्ट मॉर्निंग शिफ्ट और 12 से 5 दूसरी शिफ्ट। तो मेरा स्कूल 7 से 5 चलेगा, ठीक है? बट अगर मेरे पास मेरी स्कूल में 12 क्लास है, देन आई कैन थिंक अबाउट कि मैं 12 क्लास में 12 स्टैंडर्ड एक साथ पढ़ाऊंगा। सो दैट मीन इन 7 to 12 all 12 class is occupied for a 1 to 12 students and I can complete my school from 7 to 12 only. 12 बजे के बाद स्कूल बंद हो जाएगा, ठीक है? तो क्या ऑप्टिमाइजेशन है? ऑप्टिमाइजेशन इज अगेंस्ट द एरिया, कि अगर मेरे पास रिसोर्सेज ज्यादा है तो मुझे एरिया ज्यादा होगा। ऑफ कोर्स अगर मुझे 2 क्लास चाहिए या लेट्स से 12 क्लास चाहिए तो 12 क्लास के लिए मेरी स्कूल का एरिया बड़ा होना चाहिए, और मेरी स्कूल का एरिया ऐसा है कि जिसमें 6 क्लास ही आ सकते हैं, देन एक्चुअली आई नीड टू थिंक अबाउट दैट इट विल रन फ्रॉम मॉर्निंग 7 to evening 5. But if my school is big enough where 12 class could be constructed, then it can complete in a 7 to 12. That means within 5 hours only it can complete. So this is the way that if you have more number of resources, then area is of course larger, but with that penalty you are happy enough that you are getting a speed, and speed is very crucial in DSP system, ठीक है? क्योंकि DSP एल्गोरिथम को हमें स्पीड के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू में ही सोचते हैं। जब whenever we think about the VLSI implementation, then most of the time we are thinking about the speed. So speed is your HM, but of course the resources are more. So always in a VLSI, this speed, power and area are lagging, are actually pulling the leg of each other, ठीक है? कि जो मेरा स्पीड हाई स्पीड सिस्टम है उसके लिए मेरा एरिया ज्यादा ही होगा, और अगर मेरी स्पीड अच्छी है तो मेरा पावर भी ज्यादा होगा। ये जो 3 पैरामीटर है, दे आर पुलिंग द लेग ऑफ ईच अदर। अगर मुझे लो पावर चाहिए तो प्रोबेबली आई नीड टू रिड्यूस माय फ्रीक्वेंसी, क्योंकि आपका डायनेमिक पावर है ना, वो डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू फ्रीक्वेंसी। तो फ्रीक्वेंसी कम है तो आपका स्पीड भी कम होगा। बट आपको स्पीड ज्यादा चाहिए तो आपका पावर भी ज्यादा होगा और एरिया भी ज्यादा होगा, ठीक है? सो दैट इज द एक्चुअली क्रूशियल मैटर. So ultimately you need to decide that whether you need to think about high speed or low power or area efficient. Okay, so usually people are saying that my design is low power high speed. Ideally that is not possible, क्योंकि जो high speed होगी वो low power कैसे होगी, और जो low power है वो high speed कैसे होगी, because of this fact. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, so you need to decide that for your application which is important, and as I said that this pipelining and parallel processing is ultimately for a speed. तो उस टाइम पे मैं पावर और एरिया के बारे में ज्यादा नहीं सोच रहा. ऑफ कोर्स आई विल थिंक अबाउट दैट कि अगर मेरी स्पीड ये मिल गई तो उसके बाद कितना बेस्ट ऑप्टिमली मैं अपने पावर और एरिया को रिड्यूस कर सकता. बट माय फर्स्ट ऑब्जेक्टिव इज टू इंप्रूव द स्पीड. ओके, in a parallel processing I will duplicate the hardware, area will be larger, no issue, but I am happy that I am getting a speed. ठीक है? So now I will just explain that in what way the pipeline is helped, and if we think about some system which is without pipeline, then how it can help. Again, I would be more than happy to take out your question if any you have. अगर आपका कोई भी क्वेश्चन है जो मैंने अभी तक कवर किया है तो आप मुझसे पूछ सकते हो। नो क्वेश्चन। आई होप एम आई ऑडिबल, एम आई कनेक्टेड? यस यस, एम आई ऑडिबल? यस। मैं, आप मुझे सुन पा रहे हैं?
Yes, sir.
हाँ, तो मुझे रिस्पॉन्स नहीं मिल रहा, तो इसका मतलब या तो मीन्स आप लोग कुछ और काम कर रहे हैं या फिर यू आर नॉट पेइंग अटेंशन ओवर हियर। आई एम नॉट श्योर। ओके, सो प्लीज डू रिप्लाई व्हेन आई आस्क समथिंग। सो एनी डाउट whatever is being covered till now? Okay, again no response, so it means it should be clear by being an optimized person. Okay, now without pipelining. Okay, so now we will see the effect of the pipelining in your overall system. So now if we consider a one particular system where the three tasks are being executed, so three process. So one is a P1, another is a P2, third one is a P3. So this will take 2 nanoseconds, this will take 3 nanoseconds, and this will take 2 nanoseconds. If I apply any input, let's say x of n over here, and it is generating the output y of n over here. So that means when I apply input, then it will perform this particular task which is defined by P1, then another task P2, third task P3, and finally it will generate the output. So that means if I apply input over here, and output is generated, how much time it will take? Yes. How much time it will take if I apply input over here, and output is generated? It will pass through this P1, P2, P3. कितना टाइम लगेगा? It is total time is nothing but P1 plus P2 plus P3. क्योंकि आपका क्रिटिकल पार्ट क्या है? यहां से मैंने इनपुट अप्लाई किया, यहां पे मैंने आउटपुट देखा, यहां पे कहीं पे भी from xn to yn there is no delay element. No delay element, that means it is a delay free part. कहीं पे आपका डिले एलिमेंट है ही नहीं. So that means ये सारा प्रोसेस P1, P2, P3 ये सारा एक ही क्लॉक साइकिल में कंप्लीट होना चाहिए. So that means the total time is P1 plus P2 plus P3. So that means it is 7 nanosecond. तो अगर मैंने इनपुट यहाँ पे अप्लाई किया, let's say at 0 time, then after 7 nanosecond I can expect that y0 is generated. 60 सेकंड के बाद आउटपुट जनरेट होने के बाद मैंने सेकंड इनपुट अप्लाई किया, लेट्स से मैं 60 नैनो सेकंड पे अप्लाई कर रहा हूं, तो दूसरा आउटपुट कितने टाइम में आएगा? 14 नैनो सेकंड. फिर 14 नैनो सेकंड के बाद मैं यहां पे फिर से इनपुट अप्लाई करूंगा, मुझे तीसरा आउटपुट कब मिलेगा? क्योंकि हर बार P1, P2, P3 परफॉर्म होंगे जिसका 60 नैनो सेकंड डिले है. दैट मींस कि once I apply the input and after +7 nanosecond time, I can expect the output. If I apply the input at 0, then output is at 7 nanoseconds. If I apply the input at 7, then output could be generated at a 7 nanosecond. If I apply input at 7 nanosecond, output is at 14. And if I apply the input at 14, then output is at 20. क्योंकि ये P1, P2, P3 is connected directly, so there is no delay element in between. Okay. Now I will think about adding a delay element. अगर मैंने इनपुट और आउटपुट दोनों के लिए डिले एलिमेंट ऐड किया तो भी क्रिटिकल पार्ट तो यही रहेगा, क्योंकि ये डिले एलिमेंट से यहाँ डिले एलिमेंट के बीच में ये तीनों प्रोसेस P1, P2, P3 डायरेक्टली कनेक्टेड है. दैट मींस द टाइम इट विल टेकन इज 2 + 3 + 2. इट विल टेक 7 nanoseconds. Now think about optimizing of this design with the pipeline. So pipelining में क्या है, हमें बफर इंसर्ट करना है. So what I can do? I can insert a buffer over here. I can insert a buffer over here. Previously I applied a buffer over here, so that I am keeping. ठीक है, ये आपका इनपुट बफर है, इनपुट साइड है, और ये आपका आउटपुट बफर है जो आउटपुट के साइड है. तो इनपुट और आउटपुट बफर करने से कोई फायदा नहीं होगा. बफर की डी फ्लिप फ्लॉप हम अगर जो हमारा कॉम्बिनेशनल लॉजिक है, ये कॉम्बिनेशनल लॉजिक है जो 2 नैनोसेकंड है, ये 3 नैनोसेकंड, उसके इन बिटवीन में करने से फायदा हो. यहाँ पे मैंने लगाया है, यहाँ पे मैंने लगाया, यहाँ पे मैंने डिले फ्लिप फ्लॉप डी फ्लिप फ्लॉप लगाया, या फिर बफर इंसर्ट किया. बफर है और डी फ्लिप फ्लॉप दोनों सेम ही है. ठीक है, अभी क्या फायदा होगा, ठीक है, वो समझते हैं. तो नाउ मैं जब भी इनपुट यहाँ पे अप्लाई करूंगा, ये डी फ्लिप फ्लॉप है, ये जो बफर है डी फ्लिप फ्लॉप है. दैट मीन देयर इज अ क्लॉक, यहाँ पे भी क्लॉक है. ये सारे क्लॉक अप्लाई किए हुए जो सारे बफर में जा रहे हैं डी फ्लिप फ्लॉप का. ठीक है, तो इस क्लॉक का पीरियड ये है. अभी क्लॉक में जब भी बोलूंगा तो क्लॉक का पीरियड एक कांस्टेंट होगा. So this is a clock period. So I need to decide T. What could be T? So consider that this is my block is taking T1 time. P1 is taking T1 time. P2 is taking T2 time, and P3 is taking T3 time. So I need to think about the T. So what would be T? T would be always maximum of T1, T2, T3. क्रिटिकल पार्ट क्या है, मैक्सिमम डिले पार्ट. तो मुझे इस बफर से इस बफर में जाने के लिए 2 नैनोसेकंड लगते, इस बफर से इस बफर में जाने के लिए 3 नैनोसेकंड लगते, यहाँ पे 2 नैनोसेकंड. ओके, लेकिन सबसे ज्यादा टाइम क्या लगता है, T2 में लगता है, तो 3 है. तो मेरा T 3 नैनोसेकंड का होगा. That means my clock period is T3. This clock is applied to all the block. तो यहाँ पे भी ये क्लॉक पीरियड अप्लाई किया है, ये क्लॉक अप्लाई किया है. तो ये जो P1 है, it can complete the task for 2 nanoseconds, but clock period is 3 nanoseconds. That means for 1 nanosecond extra time is there. So that we are defining as a slack. That is a slack time. Whatever the extra time that I have for a clock, like means usually when as a student when I write a paper or when I write an exam, then always if it is a 3-hour exam, I will consider that I will complete my paper in 2 hours and 30 minutes. 30 मिनट्स इज जस्ट अ स्लैक टाइम। दैट मीन्स कि मुझे मेरे सारे क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट किए कि नहीं, मैं एक बार ओवरव्यू करूंगा कि मैंने जो लिखा है वो सही तरीके से लिखा है कि नहीं। सो दैट इज अ स्लैक टाइम, वो मेरा एक्स्ट्रा टाइम है। ठीक है, उस टाइम पे मैं आंसर नहीं लिख रहा हूं, लेकिन आई एम जस्ट लुकिंग एट द थिंग्स। ओके, ऑफ कोर्स उस 30 मिनट्स में इफ आई वांट टू अटेम्प्ट एनी अदर क्वेश्चन विच इज ऑप्शनल वन, दैट आई कैन अटेम्प्ट। ओके, तो हर बार आपके सिस्टम में स्लैक टाइम जितना बढ़ेगा उतना आपके पास टाइम है कि आप दूसरा कोई काम कर पाओ। ओके, हियर फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर टू टास्क विच इज दिस टू दिस 3 नैनो सेकंड, मेरी क्लॉक कितनी की है? 3 की है, और यहाँ पे टाइम कितना है? 3 नैनो सेकंड। सो देयर इज नो स्लैक टाइम। यहाँ पे मैं कोई एडिशनल काम नहीं कर सकता। T3, if I think about it, then clock is 3. It is taking 2 nanoseconds, but still 1 nanosecond slack time is there, where I can perform anything. Now, if I talk about overall performance of this system, then through pipelining, it should improve, and it is being improved. How it is being improved? Okay, now if you consider you are applying any input, let's say xn, x of 0 at 0 time, तो यहां पे मेरा y ऑफ 0 जनरेट होगा। कितना टाइम लगेगा? कितना टाइम लगेगा अभी? देखो, दिस इज ऑपरेटिंग ऑन अ डिस्क क्लॉक एंड क्लॉक पीरियड इज 3 नैनोसेकंड। So this will take 3 nanosecond, this will take 3 nanosecond, and this will take 3 nanosecond. अभी y of 0 is taking 9 nanosecond. Now you may tell कि ये तो टाइम बढ़ गया, पहले कितने में होता था? जब हमने ये सिस्टम की बात की, ये तो 0 में देने के बाद 7 नैनोसेकंड में आउटपुट दे रहा था। यहाँ पे 0 पे देने के बाद 9 नैनोसेकंड लग रहा है, टाइम बढ़ गया। ओके, then I say wait a minute. Okay, we are not actually worrying about the first output, we are worrying about all the output with which we need to generate. So now I will talk about x of 1 which will generate y of 1. y of 1 कितने टाइम में आएगा? y of 1 कितने टाइम में आएगा? एटीन या नहीं? See, I am using pipelining. जब मैंने x of 0 अप्लाई किया, उसके बाद x of 0 के ऊपर P1 का प्रोसेस होगा और फिर वो वैल्यू यहां पे स्टोर होगी। और दूसरे क्लॉक में, ठीक है, दूसरे क्लॉक में मैं x1 अप्लाई कर सकता हूं बिकॉज ऑफ दिस पाइपलाइनिंग कॉन्सेप्ट। पहले क्या था कि मैं 0 सेकंड के बाद 7 नैनोसेकंड पे ही मैं दूसरा इनपुट अप्लाई कर सकता था, जब तक ये पूरा काम खत्म नहीं हो जाता। लेकिन सिंस आई एम ऑपरेटिंग इन टर्म्स ऑफ द क्लॉक एंड दिस इज सिंक्रोनाइज्ड विद अ डी फ्लिप फ्लॉप, तो क्या होगा, जब मैंने 0 नैनोसेकंड पे जो अप्लाई किया है, लेट्स ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस विद बेटर वे। जो मैंने यहाँ पे 0 सेकंड पे अप्लाई किया है वो पहली क्लॉक पे, क्लॉक पीरियड क्या है, क्लॉक पीरियड जो मैंने t लिखा है वो t मेरा 3 है, तो पहली क्लॉक पे ये कंप्लीट होके यहाँ पे आएगा और वो यहाँ पे स्टोर होगा। फिर दूसरी क्लॉक आएगी, दूसरी क्लॉक भी 3 नैनोसेकंड की ही होगी, ठीक है, दिस इज माय फर्स्ट क्लॉक, दूसरी क्लॉक होगी, दूसरी क्लॉक में क्या होगा, ये जो मेरा यहाँ पे स्टोर था वो यहाँ मेरा P2 में जाएगा और प्रोसेस होगा। उस टाइम पे आई कैन प्रोवाइड आफ्टर अ 3 नैनो सेकंड, दैट मीन्स ये सेकंड क्लॉक के स्टार्टिंग में आई कैन प्रोवाइड x of 1, x of 0 is applied at 0, x of 1 is applied at 3. So here आउटपुट कब आएगा, अगेन ये जो सेकंड क्लॉक पीरियड है 3 नैनो सेकंड के बाद, तो यहाँ पे मेरा आउटपुट आएगा। 6 नैनो सेकंड पे मेरा x0 से जो इनपुट प्रोसेस होके आउटपुट आएगा ना, वो यहाँ पे आएगा। फिर जब थर्ड क्लॉक साइकिल आएगी, थर्ड क्लॉक साइकिल आएगी, अब मैं अपना x of 2 यहाँ पे इनपुट करूंगा। जब x of 2 P1 को प्रोसेस करेगा, P2 में कौन सा प्रोसेस होगा, जो मैंने x1 इनपुट में डाला, और P3 में कौन सा प्रोसेस होगा, जो मेरा x0 में। So that means all three P1, P2, P3 are active and they are processing at a time. So जिसकी वजह से पहला आउटपुट मेरा 9 नैनो सेकंड पे आया, मेरा जो y of 1 है, y of 0 मेरा 9 पे आया, लेकिन y of 1 जो है वो मेरा 12 पे आएगा, 18 पे नहीं आएगा, 12 पे आएगा। क्यों? क्योंकि जो मैंने x of 1 डाला वो पहले 3 नैनो सेकंड के बाद डाला, तो दैट मीन्स कि 6 नैनो सेकंड के बाद यहाँ पे होगा, 9 नैनो सेकंड के बाद यहाँ पे होगा, और 12 नैनो सेकंड के बाद यहाँ पे होगा। तो ये मेरा y of 1 है। सिमिलरली मेरा y of 2 कब जनरेट होगा, y of 2 15 पे जनरेट होगा, y of 3 18 पे जनरेट होगा। तो आप देखोगे कि आपका पहला आउटपुट 9 पे आ रहा है। यहाँ पे देखो, आपका पहला आउटपुट 7 पे आया था, दूसरा आपका 14 पे आया, तीसरा आपका 21 पे आया, चौथा 28 पे आया। ठीक है, यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है, पहला आउटपुट 9 पे आया, दूसरा लेकिन 12 पे आ गया, पहले 14 पे आ रहा था, फिर तीसरा 15 पे आया, चौथा 18 पे आया। तो पहले आपको 18 नैनो सेकंड तक 2 ही आउटपुट मिल रहे, अभी आपको y0, y1, y2, y3 4 मिल रहे हैं। So that means your throughput sense that number of output per clock is increased. पहले आपको कितने टाइम के बाद आउटपुट मिल रहा था, 7 नैनो सेकंड के बाद हर एक आउटपुट मिल रहा था, लेकिन आपको पहला आउटपुट 9 नैनो सेकंड पे मिल रहा है। ठीक है, लेकिन उसके बाद हर एक 3 नैनो सेकंड पे मुझे एक आउटपुट मिल रहा है। सो दिस इज अ defined as a throughput. So throughput is always defined as a number of output that you are getting per clock or per time unit. तो अभी आपका जो आउटपुट है, पहला आउटपुट always in a pipelining, because of the insertion of buffer, your initial time or initial output will take a larger delay. ये पहला 7 की जगह 9 पे आ रहा है, लेकिन दूसरा 12 पे आ रहा है, उस केस में 14 पे आ रहा है, तीसरा 21 पे आ रहा है, उस केस में यहाँ पे क्या आएगा, 21 में तो आपका 5वां आउटपुट आ जाएगा, क्योंकि 18 के बाद नेक्स्ट आउटपुट आपका 21 पे आएगा। ठीक है, सो दिस वे द आउटपुट विच इज बीइंग जनरेटेड आर फास्टर बिकॉज ऑफ दिस पाइपलाइनिंग। और वो पाइपलाइनिंग क्यों एप्लीकेबल हो रहा है, क्योंकि मेरे सारे ब्लॉक एक साथ प्रोसेस कर रहा है। यहाँ पे क्या था, मेरा P1 में गया, फिर वो P2 में जाएगा, तो ये P1 कुछ नहीं कर रहा, P2 में जाने के बाद P3, फिर ये P1 P2 दोनों कुछ नहीं कर रहे। तो बिकॉज ऑफ पाइपलाइनिंग, आफ्टर अ सम टाइम योर all the block will be active all the time, and because of that your performance is being improved. So that is pipelining. So pipelining, with this, the data that you are getting as output after every 3 nanosecond. 9 nanosecond is the initial latency, पर उसके बाद 12, 15, 18, 21, so speed up is ultimately 2.33 times. Now parallel processing, हम सिस्टम को पैरेलल प्रोसेसिंग भी कर सकते हैं और पाइपलाइनिंग के साथ पैरेलल प्रोसेसिंग भी कर सकते हैं. तो क्या करेंगे कि मैं x0 को यहाँ पे अप्लाई किया, x1 को यहाँ पे अप्लाई किया और x2 को यहाँ पे अप्लाई किया, और ये तीनों पैरेलली चल रहे हैं, और ये हर एक के लिए मेरा जो क्लॉक है वो t is equal to 3 नैनोसेकंड. So that means मेरा y of 0 9 नैनोसेकंड पे आएगा, y of 1 वो भी 9 नैनोसेकंड पे आएगा, और y of 2 वो भी 9 नैनोसेकंड पे आएगा. x of 0 के बाद ये तीनों पैरेलली चल रहे हैं, तो यहाँ पे 0 टाइम पे तीनों इनपुट जाएंगे. तो ये 3 ब्लॉक 9 नैनोसेकंड लेंगे, तो 9 नैनोसेकंड पे मेरा क्या होगा, 9 नैनोसेकंड पे आई विल गेट y0, y1, y2. देन 12 नैनोसेकंड पे, क्योंकि मैं 3 नैनोसेकंड पे x2 डालूंगा, यहाँ पे x3 जाएगा, यहाँ पे x4 होगा, तो जिसकी वजह से यहाँ पे इट वुड बी y3 आएगा, यहाँ पे x3 आएगा, क्योंकि x2 तो यहाँ पे x3, x4, x5. So that means y3, y4, y5 जनरेट. तो आप देखो 9 नैनोसेकंड पे आपका 3 आउटपुट जनरेट हो रहे हैं, 12 नैनोसेकंड पे आप पे 6 आउटपुट जनरेट हो रहे हैं, 15 नैनोसेकंड पे आप पे 9 आउटपुट जनरेट हो रहे हैं. आपका सिस्टम का परफॉर्मेंस कितना बढ़ गया. सो इट इज दैट आइडियली यू आर गेटिंग 3 आउटपुट एट 3 नैनोसेकंड. पहले क्या था, सिर्फ सिंगल स्टेज था, तो 3 आउटपुट 1 डेटा आई एम गेटिंग एट 3 नैनोसेकंड. बट अभी क्या है कि आपका 3 आउटपुट 3 नैनोसेकंड पे, जिसकी वजह से आप कंसीडर कर सकते हो कि हर एक नैनोसेकंड पे मुझे एक आउटपुट मिल रहा है. 3 आउटपुट 3 नैनोसेकंड, दैट मीन्स हर एक सेकंड पे मैं एक आउटपुट जनरेट कर रहा हूँ. ठीक है, तो दिस इज पाइपलाइनिंग एंड पैरेलल प्रोसेसिंग. नाउ देयर कुड बी अ क्लेवर वे आल्सो यू कैन डू इट, बट दैट प्रोबेबली is some sort of a typical way. I am not actually going through it because of the shortage of the time. Maybe we can put last 10 minutes for a question answer session, so that I would be more than happy to answer your question. But before that, just I will go through the second approach in quick 2 minutes. Retiming. Retiming is also a approach where I need to insert a buffer. But when I talk about the retiming, then actually I'm talking about inserting a buffer in some sort of loop kind of structure. If I have a X node, I have a Y node, and then this is a loop. Okay, यहाँ से X से Y में जा रहा है, Y से फिर से X में आ रहा है, तो retiming यूज हो रहा है. पाइपलाइनिंग में क्या है, जब आप X से जाते हो Y पे जाते हो, Y से X पे नहीं आ रहा, Y से आप Z पे ही जाते हो, Z से फिर कोई और नोड पे जाते हो. Then inserting a buffer concept is pipelining. It considered as a feed forward network. Feed forward network that means आपका डेटा एक ही डायरेक्शन में जा रहा है, लेकिन जब लूप स्ट्रक्चर है तब आपका डेटा X से Y में जा रहा है और फिर से Y से X में जा रहा है. So at that time, the method that you can apply is a retime. Now, because of the shortage of the time, I'm not actually explaining this. But if you are interested, you can go for a KK Parhi. Okay. There is another concept of unfolding, which is also similar to a retiming. Okay, where recursive nature, you can think about unfolding way of optimization. Okay, that is also possibly it would take time. But if we want to go for optimization in area, then there is a technique folding which you can go through it. Okay. Again, the book is KK Parhi. You can go for a reference book, KK Parhi. That is very good. So I am talking about this book. First book. This book is from the Village. You can read it, where you can find out lots of technique for VLSI DSP optimization. Okay. But because of the time limit, I may not be able to complete, because there is a one subject in MTech that I am teaching is VLSI DSP optimization. For that, I am taking 30 to 35 hours where I used to cover all these techniques. Okay, with the details example. But because of the lack of time, probably I may not be able to cover it all. But I think the pipelining and parallel processing, whatever being explained, this is also very good at the initial level of the optimization, which you can apply, where you can think about the optimization in a better way, where you can improve the speed. Okay, so with this I am ending up our session, and I would be welcome for a question from your end. Yes. Yes, any question? You can write down your question also, maybe I can. नहीं पता चला या फिर क्वेश्चन ही नहीं है. सी if there is no question, then there are two way. या तो पता चला है या फिर पता कुछ भी नहीं चला. Yes, any question? Still we have a 5 minutes, so I can maybe any related to your project or maybe any other which is related to VLSI. I would be more than happy to answer. Okay, if there is no question, then we can stop. Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir, to share the best information and functions of VLSI DSP optimization. Really, we are lucky to get a chance to meet you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice day. I will share my PPT with Rajesh, sir. So maybe you can look at it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you all participants. Please have a lunch, and after the lunch we will meet for the second phase today. Okay? The second class, second session is starts on afternoon 1 o'clock. Thank you.